In this video clip, I give an example of choosing fixed price contracts versus cost reimbursable contracts. A few years ago, I was working as an owner's representative in a construction management office. I was responsible for the construction of buildings and utilities for this food plant. That work went very well, but frankly, not because of me. It was conventional technology. It had been well designed by our design consultants. There were minimal changes, and there was an appropriate budget and schedule. I supervised several construction contracts, all of which were awarded fixed price, also known as lump sum or stipulated price. We were 1 year into my work when we were ready to award a contract for the installation of all the food processing equipment. I was not going to be responsible for this, but I observed it. It was a big contract and the very latest food processing technology, sometimes at the leading edge. It was to include the installation of large pieces of equipment that we had purchased separately, the installation of a high stacking warehouse, automatic guided vehicles, pneumatic conveyors, hydraulic piping systems, and the supply and installation of various other piping systems. The contract was to take 1 year. Design was behind schedule, so the drawings and specs were rushed out of the design offices without sufficient checking for completeness, correctness, and coordination. It was during an economic recession, so the construction companies were very hungry for work. We asked for competitive fixed price bids, and we awarded the contract for $23 million. I expect that in order to get the work and keep their people working, the winning bidder included very low or even negative profit. The work started, and so did the changes. There were many changes in the drawings and specs as design was completed, scope was added, and physical interferences were found. Each change then had to be negotiated between our construction management office and the contractor. Sometimes it was a change to work which had not yet started. Sometimes it had already started, and that was much more expensive. There were many more changes than typical. Then one day I remember the contractor's project manager came into our field office. He said, and I think he meant this as a reasonable prediction rather than as a threat, "There's so much change to the contract that I foresee a large claim for extra money at the end of the contract. I see lawyers getting involved. How about we change the contract to a cost reimbursable time and materials contract," he said. Now, I think it would have been easy to agree on hourly rates for all the trades and that we'd work together cooperatively with them rather than in an adversarial situation that you often get in a fixed price contract. My boss, the construction manager, insisted the contract would stay as fixed price. He would not negotiate a change in contract type. That was a mistake. The contract took 1 full extra year to complete, and it cost the contractor much more money than they had bid. The only good news about the contract was this. You remember I said this was during a recession? Well, the good news is that 2 friends of mine in the field office stayed employed for 4 more years working with lawyers on claims and counterclaims. It was eventually settled, and no doubt it cost our food manufacturing client very big bucks, but I'll never know for sure because the settlement terms were confidential. The lesson is, if many changes are expected in the contract scope, it is probably better to award a cost reimbursable contract rather than a fixed price contract.